Yeah, welcome to today's call. In today's session, we are going to be talking about, you're going to be looking at the fourth class, where we are going to be looking at the next topic to talk about in our AI agent series. So in today's session, we'll look at, dynamic input, and then let's proceed. Okay, session 4, dynamic inputs. One crew, many runs. Okay, so that is, we have just one crew, but a lot of runs are going on within it. So this session, we are going to be looking at hardcoding topics, or let's say hardcoding topics means rebuilding the crew for every subject. Placeholder lets you define crew once and run it across any list of inputs, countries, concepts, clients, or whatever. So we are going to be looking at this particular concept where we can always change the topic or the subject we want to talk about, or the subject of what the task is going to be running on. Okay, so that's what we'll be looking at in this session. So here you can see by the end of this session, you'll be able to use the variable placeholders inside task description. That is, you'll be able to define a dynamic variable that you can always change, or that can have its variable change, inside the description. Two, you'll be able to pass values via crew.kickoff. Don't forget, I mentioned that kickoff is the one that brings the agent and the task together. So you'll be able to, pass values via kickoff. And the third one is you'll be able to loop across many inputs crew.kickoff, in a for loop series, or in a form of a loop. Across a sequence. That is, you can run as much as possible topics or agents across, in form of a sequence. Then also use the same placeholder inside input file for per run file names. So that means we can have an agent that is automated to run multiple tasks. And in doing that, probably its output will be saved in a particular file. So we can automate the responses that are being saved into multiple files as well, using the output file name. So template for it plus iteration. So in this place, a task description is just a string. Like we've been saying in the last 3 sessions, a task description for an agent is nothing but a string, right? And CrewAI treats curly braces as template slots. At runtime, pass a dictionary of values, and CrewAI substitutes them in kickoff for each. Substitute them in. Okay, so at each runtime, we pass a dictionary of values, and CrewAI substitutes them. So that means it takes them, since the sequence, it can run them at one after the other. Then we also have kickoff for each, which takes a list of dictionaries and run the same crew one per item, returning a list of output. So it is in this case that we can have a dictionary of tasks or a dictionary of agents that each of them is being run, like a loop, returning their output as well. So perfect for batch jobs. So let's say we have multiple tasks we want to run, we can use this to put them in form of a sequence where each of them are going to run. So we have this architecture where let's say we have a list of inputs we want to run. Then we have that, you can see them here. Then here is the agent, right, that runs each of those inputs in form of an iteration, and then save them in multiple outputs like you can see here. So here is the code anatomy. We are going to look at multiple things as we proceed. Okay, in this case, the expected output is 3 files will be created. One is fact about Nigeria, fact about Japan, and fact about Brazil, each with capital city and coastline nodes. So these are some of those things we are going to be looking at. So in this step 4, we are going to build a geography expert that generates a fact for each of Nigeria, each of these countries, Nigeria, Brazil, and Japan in a single run. So here the expected output file, we have the name of the country.txt files. Okay, so we are going to, so these are some of the common errors like we've looked at in our previous sessions. Okay, so you can see my screen here. We are going to proceed with coding on this session. Don't forget, like we've always done in each of our sessions, the first thing is to import required libraries. The first is, say, from. The second one is from. Minutes. Let me use my glasses. So here we have from .env imports load .env. So don't forget that the reason why we are importing load .env is because we have the API key, for example, stored in a .env file, and it is from there that we are going to be accessing it. So we call the function. So we are going to define. So in this task, for example, like I mentioned in the introductory session, we are going to be building an agent that tells facts about different countries. So we'll be starting. So we are going to do that. We are going to build or define the agent itself. So this is not supposed to be a string. It's supposed to be a function and argument. Anyway, it's supposed to be an argument, right? So here we have backstory. So don't forget that the role is a geography expert. The goal is to explain geography information and explain clearly. So the backstory here is going to be okay. So that is the geographer agent. So this is the role being a geography expert. The goal is that it's to explain geography information, and explain clearly. Information and explain clearly. I think let's just say an history, not explain. And history, geography information and history clearly. So the backstory is you are a geography expert with a passion for culture and world history. So then here you have LLM equals Gemini model, and then verbose equals true. So I believe if you follow our previous session, you should know what each of these represents. So in this case, you are going to put up the geography task. Okay, so the description is to explain geographical facts about, I've said it earlier that we are going to define a country, we have three countries where these informations are going to be talked about. So we'll define that country, in a curly bracket. So because that will make it dynamic for you to be able to speak about different countries. So here we have explained. So let's say we're talking about Nigeria, three countries, Nigeria, Japan, and Brazil. So it has to be dynamic, right? That's the reason why the country has been placed in a variable. So here you have explain. So it could be Nigeria, for example. If it's the case of Nigeria, it will be explain geographical facts about Nigeria. If it's about Japan, explain geographical facts about Japan, and so on for Brazil. So the expected output is, okay, so we have something like this for the expected outputs. So I will say, um, explain three okay. Okay, so you can see how it has been dynamic all through. So in the case of description, explain geographical facts about country, where those countries could vary. Explain interesting facts about country, the capital of the country, one sentence about local cuisine in the country. Then also you see that the output file is also dynamic. So the country name underscore facts dot txt. Then the next thing we'll have here is crew. Don't forget that it's this crew that brings the task and the agent together, like I mentioned earlier. Okay, so in this case, you're able to see how you're able to define each of the country within for crew dot kickoff for each. In the previous examples we've done, instead of having crew.kickoff for each, it would have been just crew.kickoff, where we pass just a single argument and then we get our result, right? But in this case, because we have multiple, names that is going to be passed into the variable that has been defined earlier, where for country, we are going to be replacing them by different countries. So in that case, you are going to pass in a list of dictionary, a list of dictionary where the key of each of these dictionaries is country, just like we have it as a variable inside each of those functions. Then the value will be the different countries that are going to be replaced with. So for each of these country, like you can see here, it is going to be in form of like a for loop where each of those country runs, the result is imprinted or the result is saved in a file. Then after the first one, it moves to the next one and then to the third one. So that is how it does it here, like a loop where each of the tasks run one after the other in a sequential manner. So the basic thing that what makes this different is just this from the last task we did. It's just this, and now we're able to add dynamic feature into our code to ensure that we can have a variable such that different names can be added so that we can have it for, we can have the same code that runs for different particular variables that, can also be saved in an output file like you see there. So let's run this. So in this case, you see, okay. So the issue there was because the dependencies are not installed on that particular virtual environment. So I'm going to activate another virtual environment that the dependencies are installed in. So we'll see that now. Okay, so I'm going to run the code here. Oh, okay. So we can see the outputs. So it has started, and you can see here we have agents, geography experts, task, explain geography facts about Nigeria. So it's running Nigeria first. And we look at the code itself, you see that it starts from Nigeria, it starts with Nigeria. Then you can see the output is writing about Nigeria. Nigeria is giant of Africa and so on. Okay, so yeah, something interesting fact about it. The capital, the river Niger, Nigeria's is the most populous African population and so on. So then that's done. Then I believe we should be starting with the second one, which is explain geographical facts about Brazil. Then you see the output here. Brazil is a nation of immense scale and vibrant culture. Then you can see three interesting facts about Brazil. The capital is called capital city, Brasile's modern vision, okay, which is Rio de Janeiro or Sao Paulo, a giant of biodiversity and ecosystems. And also you have an expansive coastline and river systems. Okay, so that's that about Brazil. I believe the third one should be about Japan. So here you have explained geographical facts about Japan. There you can see Japan, an Asian, East Asian island nation, and so on. its position in Pacific, an archipelago of mountain on the Pacific Ring of Fire. Okay, Ring of Fire. Then also you have biodiverse climates across latitudes and so on. So yes, it is with this that the task, will be completed for for all of the countries. Okay, so yes, that's basically that. So this brings us to the end of the fourth session. So you can meet us again in our next class. Thank you. Bye.